Were the events of Fatima the most incredible moment in modern history? Ridiculed by its opposition, revered by its supporters, and ignored by most. But no matter what your view is, one thing is clear. These events should not be ignored. Following a revolution in 1910, ruined finances and scarce social order put the once great nation of Portugal on the verge of collapse. Despite this, the government had barely been installed when its focus became anti-religious policies. The new masters of Portugal pillaged monasteries, seized property church, imprisoned and exiled hundreds of priests and nuns. Some religious orders were abolished and its members expelled, and some even lost their Portuguese citizenship as they fled the country. Abolishment of religious teachings in public schools and prohibition of religious celebrations would follow. Even the seminary's curriculum and attendees were to be regulated by the state. Not even the church bells escaped the censorship. Modern textbooks either ignore this or make it out to be a great thing, like the great liberators who jailed people based solely on their beliefs. Magalhães Lima, a Masonic grandmaster and founder of the newspaper O Século, proudly predicted that in a few years no young man would wish to study for priesthood. Afonso da Costa, a major figure in the government and a Freemason as well, stated that in 2 generations Catholicism will be completely eliminated in Portugal. For the Freemasons, the fight for progress and enlightenment, as they prefer to describe their conflict with the Catholic Church, was all but won. Enforcing worldviews in the name of liberty, and religious and financial destruction in the name of progress. And it was in this hostile environment that 3 little children would change the course of history. Lúcia, Jacinta, and Francisco were the 3 kids who would be known as the 3 Little Shepherds. Lúcia would become the main figure, and Francisco and Jacinta were her cousins. In this presentation we'll focus on the last and main event, the Dance of the Sun. However, here is a very brief explanation of what happened before. It all started in 1916, when the 3 children had a vision. They would describe it as the Angel of Peace or the Angel of Portugal. In those first apparitions, the children were told that Virgin Mary would appear to them. Lúcia's mother did not believe her daughter and kept pressuring her to admit it was all a lie. Lúcia was even brought to the priest, who saw Mary's apparition as something else. The most influential person in the area was Mayor Artur Santos, a clever and ambitious man, a Freemason from the Leiria Lodge, who would later found another lodge in his hometown. He was also the editor of the Oriense, a local newspaper, where his hostility towards organized religion in general, and Catholicism in particular, was fully displayed. However, if it weren't for the 3 children, his name would have been lost in history. He called the children for a trial, where he commands 10-year-old Lúcia to tell him the secret and to stop going to the apparition site. She did none of those things. As this was not enough, the mayor kidnaps the children and locks them in a room. This was on a day where an apparition was expected. By now, thousands of people were at the place waiting. As news of the kidnapping arrived, the crowd got very angry, and it was actually Jacinta's and Francisco's father who calmed them down. The next morning, following another failed interrogation, the mayor had them throw them in jail, herded together with the common criminals, in the dark and bad-smelling cells. Jacinta was 7 years old. Later, the mayor says he will boil them alive if they don't reveal the secret, and proceeds to take them one by one. Despite facing death by torture, the children never break, never say they were lying, and their story never changed. And they did not reveal the secret. On the small note, there are the secrets of Fatima. This is a vast topic, and we won't get into it. Just know that they are the 3 secrets of Fatima and that the mayor wanted to know what they were. Our Lady asked the children and everyone else to pray the rosary to stop the evils of Russia from spreading across the world. Pray the rosary every day was the main message. Also, a miracle was promised in the 13th of October in 1917, so that everyone would believe the children. The rain had been pouring for hours and hours in this cloudy day. This did not stop tens of thousands of people from all over impoverished Portugal, walking for days in the rain and through the mud in most cases. Around 70,000 people were at Fatima on the 13th of October. There were believers, curious people and skeptics, and people determined to ridicule it. The Freemasons and their anti-religious press kept on mocking the Catholic ignorance. They couldn't wait to publish the ultimate articles exposing the fraud once and for all. Journalists were sent to the site and articles were announced. After the last apparition, and at the exact predicted time, Lucia told the crowd to look at the sun. They closed the umbrellas, it stopped raining, and the dance of the sun took place. Once Lucia told the people to look at the sun, many people were cautious, but soon noticed that they could look at the sun without hurting their eyes. The sun became visible through the clouds. Some people saw a pearl-looking disc adjacent to the sun. Some just saw the sun, and some say the sun became the disc. Then, the sun and/or the disc started spinning. Many of the skeptics were converted right there. As the sun was spinning, several colors appeared in the sky. The people who were already astonished as they were witnessing the dance of the sun, next saw the sun coming down to earth as it was about to crash. Many believe it to be the end of the world. Many started praying and asking forgiveness for their sins as the sun was about to hit the ground. And just as it was about to collide, it stopped. And Lucia's mother finally believed her daughter. As soon as it all ended, people could no longer look at the sun without hurting their eyes. They also started noticing that their clothes were all dry and clean from the mud. This was not only witnessed by the tens of thousands of people present, but also in a 40 kilometers radius, like the poet Afonso Lopes Vieira, who was chilling in his balcony, not even aware it was the announced day, and reported seeing a spectacle in the sky like nothing he had previously seen. He was kilometers away from the event. The anti-Catholic newspapers, who previously mocked the apparitions, without exception, all affirmed something unusual had happened. Avelino de Almeida, editor-in-chief of O Século, who went there to report on the biggest Catholic fiasco, changed his tone and said, "The sun made brusque movements, never before seen, beyond all cosmic laws." Gonçalo de Almeida Garrett, a college professor of natural sciences, with written books on astronomy, was present. He gave a report matching the others. Even Mayor Arthur Santos Oriens reported the events. No astro observatory reported any anomaly in the sun or in the sky. We have 70,000 witnesses. We have several secular reporters who wanted to expose the so-called fraud. We have people far away who had no interest in what was going on. We have skeptical university professors and scientists. We have hundreds of witnesses' testimonies and personal letters. It is also worth noting that this took place only 100 years ago. Many people alive today knew people who were alive back then. Of course, there has been some attempts to have a materialistic explanation. Here are the main three. Number 1. Mass hallucination. People seeing what they wanted to see. So 70,000 people had the same hallucination that started and ended exactly at the same time. Plus, no one was waiting for the sun to do anything. A miracle was announced, but not a single detail had been given. What about the vast numbers of people who were there to ridicule it? They clearly wanted expecting to see the sun move, yet they reported it. And what about the people in a 40 kilometers radius? Number 2. Optical illusion, retina damage. The dance of the sun is nothing like the previous and rare sun anomalies. But even if they were, the sun was always in the horizon, and in Fatima it was at the zenith, the highest place in the sky. The retina damage. Well, the sky was filled with clouds right until the moment, and mainly there were no accounts of temporary nor permanent eye damage in Fatima when people were looking at the sun for 10 minutes. What about the people far away? What about the clothes drying? Number 3. UFOs. As this narrative gains more and more popularity by the day, nothing escapes it, since anything can be interpreted by it, and any other paradigm or belief system can be created by it. My personal advice is beware of it. But back to Fatima. If it was a UFO in front of the sun, where was the shadow? Also, I believe no alien would tell us to pray the rosary and follow Catholic tradition, despite the inevitable attempt to merge aliens and religion. These are the 3 main rational explanations. Explanations of free thinkers and smart people. With time, another theory emerged. It simply didn't happen. Since according to us what happened could not have happened, let's just say it didn't happen and dismiss everything. And from that, another theory germinated. One that states that it was all a conspiracy for political gain and to start some wars, even if the message was all about avoiding wars. Funny enough, an amalgamation of it didn't happen, it's all a scam, and political conspiracy, it's what's propagandized in the education system and the media. A fierce propaganda campaign against the events of Fatima immediately began. Magic tricks made to deceive the ignorant people, they called it. Worth noticing that at the time, even the biggest enemies of the church never say it didn't happen. Days after the Dance of the Sun, a group of tolerant freethinkers pillaged the apparition site, and then they made an exhibition where people could mock the modest adornments that were stolen. And this was followed by a mock procession across town. Due to the attacks of the Republicans, Catholics had been quiet since the revolution, but a group of educated Catholics broke the silence with an open letter. There has not been, in living memory, such a repugnant attack, directed against the traditions and dignity of a nation which prides itself on its respect for the beliefs of others. In response, the Portuguese Federation of Freethinkers published a manifesto. As the pernicious propaganda of reactionaries were not enough, we now see a miracle to degrade the people into fanatism and superstition. Let us liberate ourselves and cleanse our minds from any credence in the supernatural. The media continued with the attacks and instigated a protest outside the church. Once Mayor Artur Santos arrived, the church was empty. The children had to seek refuge and the mass had been moved to a church nearby. A pilgrimage to Fatima from all over the country was planned. Not a soul shall get in there. They can't do anything against brute force. Brute force to prohibit the peaceful will of the people. And all in the name of liberty. The pilgrimage was declared illegal by the state, and armed guards blocked the pilgrims' way. Many people tried to get through the fields without being seen, climbing over walls and other obstacles, and managed to arrive at the place of the apparitions. Counting themselves fortunate to kneel there and pray the rosary. The Liberty dictators were determined to keep on attacking Fatima and the people, and even went as far as placing a bomb in the chapel. The roof was blown off, but the other bomb, by the tree where Our Lady had appeared, did not explode. Guess the free thinkers don't want us to practice free thinking. The Dance of the Sun in Fatima in 1917 is unparalleled in human history. The sun moving was witnessed by tens of thousands of people after a miracle had been announced for that time and day. Yet, it's ignored by most and mocked by many. It was also a gigantic blow to the anti-religious Masonic New Order that was taking over. Despite facing total oppression and psychological pressure from the state and media, the people hold the line and claim their right to practice their faith. It seemed it would take more than 2 generations to eradicate the faith in Portugal. To this day, thousands of people from all over Portugal and the world go to Fatima on pilgrimage. In the end, Despite the best efforts of the establishment, the missionary nation was able to preserve its fate. Even if now, 1 century later, seems like it's the size of a mustard grain.